President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, Senator Dino Malaye, and Senator Ben Moribus had asked the court to declare their invitation by the police as illegal and order the police to pay them 500 million naira. But now that suit has been dismissed. Will they go to the police? It's a big question for tonight. Now, after suspension of result allegations of bribing the army, Governor Wike wins in Rivers State. Now, this is Plus Politics, and I am Mary Anna Cohn. Overwhelmed by the show of love by the people of his state, Governor Wike expressed his regret that some died during the polls and dedicated his win to election victims. Today, we take a look at the journey to this victory. And I am being joined by Wale. I have Lulu Elegwe. He's a political analyst. It's good to have you join us, Lulu. And of course, we have Wale Amusa. He's a lawyer, and of course, he's also a politician. It's good to have you in the studio. So, gentlemen, let's look at River State. I literally feel like I've been here every other day because we keep talking about River State. River State has been that one state that has been a drag, you know, from the presidential to the governorship elections. And we all, I'm sure, even if we're not living in Rivers, we kind of have an idea of what's been happening in River State. And now, finally, yesterday, Governor Wike was declared winner for River State. Let's just take a look at the build-up to the elections. I'll tell you, some days before elections, the army took over River State. We saw the army in public places, supermarkets. It was like the state was under siege, and the governor was crying foul. Before now, he said the GOC was after his life. And then, you know, they said that the state was being militarized. This was the build-up to the elections. And I keep asking, why does River State always have to be the centerpiece for every election? So I'll start with you.
Okay, thank you for that. River State is a unique state. Currently, among the PDP states, Rivers is one of the most important states, and so for them, they know that holding on to a victory there is very, very tight for them. And whatever it takes or took, you know, they knew it had to, particularly since the APC was leading a rampage against them. So they knew that they had to do everything possible. On the issue of militarization of River State, it's unfortunate because as much as possible, that created an image in the eyes of the average Riverian or River State person, you know, and I think it's unfortunate. And I dare say that in future elections, they should make sure they demilitarize the process.
But you see, Lolo, I'll ask you this question. Every time we talk about militarization, it's a finger-pointing game, by the way, when it comes to River State. So the APC will say, well, the PDP did it first. When Wike was the Minister of State for Education, they somewhat militarized River State. They took laws into their hands, so why should their own be different? But as a voice of reasoning, I always ask, do we have to do the same things that we criticized when we were on the outside if we are, or if you are saying you are bringing change?
Yeah, but I think that's part of the problem with our politics, right? Because if someone is doing something that, I mean, we all know to be wrong, even if you're not holding on to a change mantra, I would imagine that if you get there, you would want to do something different to be able to show that things can be done a different way. But the sort of default mode of Nigerian politicians is to either repeat it, but this time flip it round to see in terms of who gets the advantage and who doesn't. And in most cases, it's usually worse than what preceded it. And I think that's part of the unfortunate nature of our politics. In Rivers, to me, I think in Rivers it was pointless because, in my opinion, Governor Wike was always going to win in Rivers.
I mean, why are you so certain? Because
I don't see how any other party winning in Rivers is like saying any other party can win in Lagos. It's not going to happen.
I may not agree on that.
I mean,
you disagree? Why? Let's just take.
No, I'll disagree on that.
Okay.
Really, election is an issue of choice. You understand? But the choices in Rivers became very, very limited when all the candidates of the APC in Rivers State were flung out by virtue of a court order. You understand?
Yeah, but this started way before the.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it would be APC. It won't be a walkover if the APC partook in that election. I agree on that. You know, but the
But
point.
do you think, I mean, if, for example, let's just paint a picture. If Toyin Cole were to emerge, you know, the flag bearer for APC, did you think he stood a chance in any way?
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. Because, see, let me tell you why. Look, there are certain states in Nigeria that, I mean, there are certain states where, yes, it's fluid. So it just depends on who's running at any particular point. There are certain states where it doesn't matter that much who's running. The people in the state pretty much vote for the party. So it doesn't really matter who's on the ticket on which party. Rivers is one of those states. Lagos is one of those states. So but it's not like somewhere like Oyo State, for example. Oyo State, places like Kano State, for example. Those ones depend on whether or not the people are interested in who the governor is or who's running for governor. In Rivers State, my opinion is that it will always, unless something changes in the next 4 years, it's still going to be PDP. In Lagos, unless something changes in the next 4 years, it's always going to be APC. I don't think it's a question of limited options. It's just
I
about
might be wrong, but does this not paint the electorate in these states as docile or you know, or unable to make a choice or change things? So it seems more like there's a hand of Esau somewhere.
It's unfortunate, really, because as much as we want to believe that, yes, these people have a right to determine who governs them, we see from, at least from experiences on the field, that these guys, they come, they go through the works, but whoever has been ordained by the powers that be to win always gets the win. You understand? So in some of those states, it's unfortunate. But I was a politician. We're always very optimistic.
You was, or you were rather?
Yes, I was a politician. I am a politician.
When did you retire? I was about to say.
when did that change?
I am a politician, and we are very optimistic people. We have to keep advising the electorate to keep trying and keep believing. Someday, somehow, the vote will count.
Yeah, but I think part of it for me is the relationship between idealism and realism, right? So, from an idealistic point of view, it's good to say we can say that we have the electorate who, okay, they look at the options. This is who we want because, for whatever reason, this is the person we think will make the state better. But the reality is that the way the candidates that end up running for governor, the way they still have to go through a primary process in their parties. So at the end of the day, it's really a choice of who the party has picked. So would you really call that? I mean, it's democracy anyway.
So again, because this is some of the issues, and I don't want us to move away from River State, but this is some of the issues that people have a problem with, where the populace or the voters don't really have a say in who the party throws up, you know, at the end of the day. And internal democracy is also a problem, and if we continue in this level, we'll definitely talk about the APC and the internal democracy issues they've had. But let's go to Governor Wike back again. Now, when he was declared winner, the returning officer, Adia, said that 249,324 votes did not count in areas where elections did not hold or was cancelled. He said, and I quote, "This day I confirm again that I am a coalition officer for the election and that Nyesom Wike of the PDP, having satisfied the requirements of the law, had scored the highest number of votes and is hereby declared winner and returned elected." Now, the governor won in 19 local government areas out of 21 that were declared, which means he won. Now, he showed overwhelming strength in his local government, which is Obiakpo local government area, where he polled 281,161 votes, while his closest opponent, Awar of the AAC, scored only 7,495 votes. Now, he also scored very high votes in Andoni local government, where the PDP party chairman is from, Uche Second. Surprisingly, he also won in Ikwere local government, where his strongest opponent, Mechi, is from. But let's look at.
There you go. that's exactly my point.
Let's look at some of the things he said. He said Wike explained that he was overwhelmed by the show of love by his people, the people in his state. He also expressed regret about those who died. I just want us to pick some of the things that he said. He says, we give glory to God. We thank Rivers people for showing us love. For some of them who lost their lives, I never knew Rivers people could come together to say or stand with us. We thank Rivers people here today, and I dedicate this victory to them. He said, by your peaceful conduct in the face of provocation, you have demonstrated that democracy is in your DNA, and we will continue to exhibit this until all non-democrats pretending to be one of us are flushed out of our polity. Now, he also said that the APC should hide its head in shame, that after 4 years in office, he had to use the combined team of gullible members of staff of INEC and military operatives to hang on to power. Now, he's taking a jab at INEC, who delivered him, because on the other side, APC was saying INEC was working with the PDP, and the PDP was also saying INEC was working with the APC. Let's talk about INEC briefly here. I mean, a lot of states have said INEC has not been straightforward, but in Rivers State, maybe they saved face because both parties were pointing fingers and they weren't sure, you know, which way it was going to swing.
Yeah, but blaming INEC and finger pointing is par for the course with us in Nigeria. It's, if you're not winning, you point fingers and say INEC is working for the other party. If you're winning, the other party says INEC.
But in their case, they weren't even sure which way it was going to go.
To be honest with you, in this, sorry, they weren't sure.
Both sides. I mean, at some point.
No, I think it was clear where the selection was going.
Well, that's what you think. At some point, the governor said INEC was working with APC. The APC was also saying that INEC, as I said 2 days ago, we had an APC chieftain in the studio saying that whatever the outcome of the result is, they don't stand by it because they're not sure that they can vouch for INEC. Yeah,
but like you said, these are just preemptive statements. It's at the end of the day, Governor Wike was leading, regardless of even if they hadn't stopped.
But the AAC the governorship candidate at some point said he was also leading, that they should declare him governor.
Nobody was going to elect the AAC. I mean, let's be honest.
No. If
the AAC guy wasn't going to win.
APC were shipped out, the AAC candidate will not even be anywhere.
Exactly.
But the APC threw its weight behind the AAC.
Yeah, a few days to the election. No, I mean, at the end of the day,
he gave him the temerity to sound the way he sounded.
Yeah, but the point is, he was never going to win.
A lot of people would have voted APC, may not have voted AAC.
Exactly. So he wasn't going to win.
But there was no APC on the ballot.
Yes.
True. But those statements about INEC is doing this, and at the end of the day, if Governor Wike is saying that INEC is working with APC or AAC to take the election away, he would make those sorts of statements as, again, it's preemptive, so that if anything untoward happens, he can point out that, yes, I said so.
No, but my own take on INEC really is that they created room for a lot of all of these issues. For instance, having so many inconclusive elections, stopping collation, you know, for this long.
Well, INEC did also point to the fact that there was violence. The lives of their officials were threatened, for example, and they could not continue because of this. I mean, I did quiz an APC chieftain who said they had no right to suspend elections, but INEC would tell you they didn't suspend elections, they suspended collation.
Yes.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Because we know that we were having live feed on that day when soldiers and army officials had a clash at the collation center. So INEC had to cite some of these things.
But you're aware that in some other locations across Nigeria, there was violence in some parts. At least I remember during the presidential election in Lagos, there were parts that were what's English? There was violence. Yes, they had to suspend collation, they had to suspend, they had to do reruns in some of those places, you understand? Yes, there was we saw some of that, but there were some other areas where this violence just went unfettered, you know, and at the end of it all, results came from those areas. You get
Well, INEC does have to answer for all of these things. I'm sure that, you know, we would have responses, but in Rivers State, INEC did say they will still have supplementary elections, be that as in May. But, I mean, let's examine Governor Wike for a few minutes. I don't think we have too much time. For those of us watching him from the outside, I mean, he's done 4 years. He was known nationwide as Mr. Projects. Do you think he's going to do anything different from construction of roads and all of those things? I mean, this is Wike 2.0. You know, so
I guess every governor that's won election is that person 2.0. So it would be interesting to see what they do with the second term. But generally speaking, I mean, in your second term, you have no, you don't have another term to go for.
But he does have an APC sitting on his wings, making sure that they poke at everything he does. So do you think he's going to be at ease in any way?
No, he will be. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be. Yes, I mean, regardless of what the situation is, the APC is always going to be on the PDP's case in Rivers State, regardless of whether he won election or re-election or not. That's always going to be the case. So I don't think that should stop him from doing whatever
I think that PDP has consolidated its hold in Rivers State, and they're going to do everything to ensure that they continue to stay relevant. You know, I see him doing, because Governor Wike also plays the gallery like every other one of them. You know, so
it's politics.
He will continue to do that, but I see him performing a bit more. Even though right now there's really no stronghold for him to say he wants to continue to perform. We know from history that after they perform for the first term, second term is a time for them to just.
Why do we see that happening in closing? Why does this ever happen? When did we conform to this? Well, the first tenure I work hard, and then the next tenure we just get ready for the next elections. Yeah, because Could we also, unknown to us, be playing a part or a role in the, the complacency of these politicians?
Yeah, because more often than not, like you said, by the second tenure, such office holder is no longer a candidate. You understand? So for him or her, you may not really be interested in.
He's just thinking about legacy. At that point.
Okay. At that point, let me just concentrate on what I've done. Whoever comes in, they may now be interested in who succeeds them as a way of preserving their legacies. You understand? Like we saw in Ogun State and some other states as well. So I think the focus is not really so much on them, because someone else they are not contesting in the subsequent election, although they're interested in who succeeds them. You understand? How
do we get accountability in second tenures instead of people trying to look for who's going to succeed them?
Yeah, because, well, the way we do that by making sure, okay, so if someone's done, say, a decent job in the first term and then decides to just sit back in the second term, the only way that the electorate can counter something like that is to make sure that whoever that person is, they like to use the word anoint, to be his successor, does not become the next governor, because it's generally going to be an extension of that same term.
Like that's the only way. Imo and Ogun State.
That's the only way the electorate can do that.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for speaking with me. Lolu Elegbe is a political analyst, and Wale Musa is a lawyer and a politician. Interesting things to be at the same time. Thank you so much for being here. We'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the protest. The police dismissed the suit. Stay with us.